Now, a lot of people are upset about the censorship, and it's interesting to explain why, because there's a lot of other individuals on Twitter very confused. It's like, why do you care? It's so small. You're grifting, you're nitpicking. The reality is that some people just see the signs before it gets to the level of concord. So I guess, like, if you see the signs before that point, you're the problem, and when the problem actually happens, then it's too late to fix it, because usually the studio loses a lot of money. And at the same time, the people who initially saw the problem aren't presented with an apology or anything like that. So, what exactly is the problem here? Because most people that complain probably don't even play Sonic. It's probably not a game targeted at their demographic, but they're worried about the company itself. You see, this is a small change, but it is a change that was done by a group of people that were paid money in order to go through the game and look for anything that they would believe it would upset Twitter. So they found like this trivial stuff that doesn't really matter that much, and they decided that it has to be changed. And a lot of us are looking at this new way of making video games, and we're noticing that it's very different than the way old games used to make. So, first off, it's the remakes. Like, there's very little originality anymore. There's very little creativity. They keep doing remakes, and often they even censor stuff when remaking, which basically implies that the original developers either didn't know what they are doing or they were bad people for doing it. Like, basically, in this example, they're suggesting that the original creators were misogynists for doing something like this, and people on Twitter wouldn't put up with it, so they have to censor it. When in reality, most people on Twitter probably wouldn't even notice the scene. Now, there's also an interesting thing when they keep doing this. Basically, women aren't allowed to be the end of the joke in any entertainment at all. And it creates the girl boss eventually. Like, when this keeps adding up, when they keep doing this, over the course of time, you end up with characters like Tila from He-Man. You end up with characters like the Romance from Invincible. Like characters that no one really likes. And I think the reason for it is that they don't really behave like human beings. They're very uncanny in their personality. It's just very different than what people experience in day-to-day interactions. What I mean by this is that if you look at one of the most popular isekais out there, Konosuba, one of the reasons it's so successful is because Aqua, which is a female character, is also often the butt end of the jokes, just like the male character. And this creates an interesting dynamic, and it shows that these people are actually friends. Like, they do banter with each other, they sometimes joke at each other's expense, but they still manage to stay together as a group because they actually do like each other's company. And it creates this realistic level, this immersion, that makes people believe, yeah, this is how I act with my friends. You know, sometimes we joke at each other's expense, sometimes we make fun of one another, but it's not in mean spirit. And this is why it works. But what's happening in the West is that all the female characters are above being the butt end of a joke. So they always have to seem competent in every single situation. They always have to command respect in every single situation. And when you do this time and time again, they don't really seem as if they're acting or trying to emulate human beings. And it breaks immersion. You realize, yeah, I mean, this is a movie. This is, Rey from Star Wars. Like, she's got no personality. She doesn't have any ambitions. But in every scene, whatever she is, she's going to be successful and she's going to save the day. There's no hardships. There's no downsides. Like, she's never going to be placed in any situation where she may lose, right? Now, again, it all starts from this. Because the people that are paid to be the censors, they have to constantly find censorship in order to justify their wage. And it starts with small things, but as they begin censoring, the artists kind of get the hint that they realize, okay, this is something that I shouldn't put in because the censors would complain. So then they start escalating. They're looking for more and more stuff to censor until it gets to the ridiculous levels to where we are at the West. Now, with Japanese companies, it's important to point out that they're just starting this madness. They're basically like 10 years behind the curve. They're still at Mass Defect Andromeda level, that they haven't gotten to our Concorde. So we notice the changes happening, but they're not as obvious like changes from Western developers. So it will take for them a little bit more time until they will go to that level, but censorship, like I just showed you, is just a symptom. You know, like think about a person that has cancer. In the first stages, they don't really get bedridden. That it's not very obvious that they're sick. They may start coughing a little bit. That they may start spitting up a little bit of blood here and there. You know, like nothing is major that the symptoms would justify life-threatening stuff. But over the course of time, it just gets worse, right? Like the cancer progresses. And this is pretty much what's happening at companies once they decide to hire these consultants, to hire these activists. I don't think that Japanese companies are going to be safe from this. The thing is, it's like if the backlash would happen early, if you'd get the same backlash that Concord got, Dustborn got, Forspoken got, if the backlash would have happened earlier, they would get the memo and it would be very easy for them to fire those activists and to change course. But once a company gets like deeply rooted into this culture, into this mentality of creating products not as an art form, but more like something that comes from an assembly line, and everyone needs to check the product and make sure that it fits the manufacturing requirements, it's very difficult to go back from that. Because now most of you, it's not that the diversity consultants only consult for the product. They also create a corporate culture. They also try to indoctrinate your employees. They also try to make your employees into activists. So over time, you end up with so many people in your company that think this is a good thing and a necessary thing that it's next to impossible to uproot them without severely damaging your brand. Because they believe that their work is extremely important, not for making video games, but for society as a whole. Like, they view themselves that their work is improving society, and without them, society is failing. So if you go against what they are doing, it's not like you're just making a different decision in order to change the video game or to change a character. No, like, you're hurting society, so they must stop you. And they usually like join ranks from different companies, from different organizations, because the ideology unites them. And as you can see here, this is from Bandai Namco. And they're basically saying that they have new in-house DEI training program, which according to her consists of 4 key pillars. About character hair, which discusses how to properly create more diverse character design, particularly in regards to their hairstyles. See, like, this sounds good on paper, and I would believe them, except that this is not what they do in practice, at least not in the West, where almost every single black character's hairstyle looks like either Echo from League of Legends, or is having like half of their head shaved and long hair on the other side. And that is like their diverse hairstyle, and it's just bizarre, because like, it's not something bad, you know, like giving players more choices for hairstyles, like, okay, I mean, character editors did that even back in Neverwinter Nights era. But they constantly like say these appealing things, but when you look at what they actually do, is that they're giving like the exact same hairstyles to black characters over and over. It's just like weird. Character gender. It's explained that one's gender is made up of 4 parts, including biological sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, and gender expression. Again, this isn't like necessarily a problem. It's like, okay, well, Gabe has pronouns. Alright, fine. But the issue is the culture. Like, when you actually see that a game has pronouns, is that they hire these people. Right? Like, they hire the package. It's the symptom. Again, like a cancer patient that's coughing up blood. Like, coughing up a couple of drops of blood isn't dangerous for anyone. But the reason you're coughing them is because you have cancer. Like, that is the problem, right? So, when they remove femininity from a video game, when they create characters that are women but they look like men, this is just a sign that they are promoting the inclusivity, that they hire the censors. And usually, like, again, they're hiring censors for remakes. which means that they're removing stuff from the originals, suggesting that the original developers which made the game that went around the world didn't know what they are doing, or that they were evil bad people that need to be fought against. Difference in cultures and values, which concern itself on how one should approach differences in regional culture regarding certain actions, images, or words. Again, you believe them until you notice that, oh, look what happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Granted, different company, but it was the same ideology, which was supposed to actually look for words and certain actions and cultures and blah, blah, blah. But what they really mean is don't upset Twitter. That's what they really mean. It's only one culture they care about, right? They don't care about Christianity. They don't care about nationalism. They don't care about any of these things. They only care about do not upset the current Twitter culture. And the thing is, some games are actually amazing when they disrespect the culture. Like South Park, for instance. Right? Like South Park is not something that respects. It's satire. It's funny. It's comedy. Even I know Jewish people that like South Park. I know black people that like South Park. Like the very idea that just because you're part of a culture, you can't take any joke at the expense of that culture is ridiculous. Like they would look at Breaking Bad and they would say, no, we need to remove Bogdan from the TV show because he makes fun of Romanians and people make it. And I'm a Romanian and I have no problem with Bogdan because it's a work of fiction. But this is what they do. And it's not just like if the game treats these themes is a problem. No, like usually like if it's a Romanian character, he has to be plain and boring because you can't have him do anything that would reflect negatively on the Romanians as a whole. And it's like, well, hold on a little bit. Like most people don't think that way, right? It's just a fictional character. You made him Romanian, okay? And the perfect example would be Apu from The Simpsons, right? Like no one had a problem with Apu. It's like, okay, he's an immigrant, he assimilated, learned the language, opened a business, is a productive member of his community. Now, he does have some stereotypes because it's The Simpsons, and that's the whole point. Like, literally every character is a stereotype. But they removed him. They removed a functional character that was beloved by many because, again, it was like the cultural thing that was upsetting them, right? So, this is not a benefit for the product. It's not a benefit for entertainment. It's just PR nonsense. And finally, accessibility, mainly regards in making games usable for all players. This is about the menu, reading it out loud, right? So like there are certain people that have various degrees of blindness and they have difficulty seeing the letters and the menus. Having a colorblind function, like this is fine. I'm not against it. But you need a team of coders and people that know programming to do it, not people from the benches of intersectionality that have no idea how to code and just want to overseer over other people that do and get money in exchange for that. Yeah, so all in all, a lot of people have seen what's happening with corporations in the West. I mean, right now what we're seeing is the final form. And there is a backlash. The products do not resonate with the customers anymore. Sometimes they do. But you need to make a product that's so exceptionally well and compensates with gameplay to the point where people are willing to overlook the wokeness. Hades 2 is an example. Like, the gameplay is good, so a lot of people aren't going to look into the character designs too much. They're not going to listen to the story as much. But all of it is despite the wokeness. Like, the wokeness doesn't actually help the product be better. Like, the product has to fight against the wokeness in order to be successful. And the reason I know this is that if you look on Twitter, you don't see people using Hades 2 characters as their avatar. You don't see it on Discord. You don't see people buying merchandise with Hades 2. Like, if it was... when you're looking at Japanese games, you're looking at stuff like Nikkei, you're looking at... the anime they made with Cyberpunk, like they sell a lot of toys, a lot of t-shirts, they're selling a lot of merchandise and keychains and stuff because people actually like the characters, their aesthetics. I just don't see that happening with Western games. I mean, the reason they constantly have to shove DLC down your throat, the reason they constantly have to shove all these microtransactions and they have to up the price for the game is that they're not selling merchandise. They do not have any other type of monetization besides the thing in game. And again, like, it is the aesthetics. Because when you buy a game, you can actually buy it for the gameplay. But when you buy a t-shirt, a keychain, or a little statuette, you're doing it for the aesthetics. And with Concord, like, even the male characters, none of them are cool, none of them look heroic, none of them look inspiring, none of them look sexy. There's really no reason to buy it. It's not even funny. So even if Concord was to make toys, even if it was to make keychains and stuff like Overwatch has, right? Like, Overwatch has a lot of t-shirts and it has like a lot of paraphernalia that people bought. Concord doesn't. And it doesn't because the designs are plain and awful. And you can't even sell skins, right? Like League of Legends is another example. Some of their best-selling skins are skins of their female characters. And they just nerf themselves. They just go out of their way in order to remove that because, again, they don't want to upset certain players and they want to highlight this sexual orientation and the gender expression, you know, because, like, you can have women that look like men and it's fine. And if you complain about it, you're a bigot. And if you want to stick it to the bigots, buy the product. This is their marketing. This is what they do. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.